that's what we're gonna be covering today. Dragons, otherwise known as dinosaurs. So get ready, hit that like button, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's dive right in. Let's go beyond the curve.
The earth is flat. The moon landing's fake. Lizard people rule us, for goodness sake. Chemtrails in the sky, they're controlling our minds. This ringtone's the truth that everyone finds. It's the conspiracy theorist hotline, uncovering secrets all the time. If you hear this tone, and the truth will be told about aliens, Bigfoot, and conspiracies.
Heard the story about Tiburcio Vasquez. Apparently in the late 1800s, him along with 30 other people on a train in California encountered a dragon that was hurtling towards them, creating a giant dust bowl, and they couldn't see where it was going, and part of his tail got ripped off by the train. And this was covered in the Los Angeles Times newspaper with testimonies from the engineer, the firemen, and other passengers saying that they saw this thing, a 30-foot long serpent creature. And apparently this sort of stuff used to happen all the time back then, and they called these things American dragons. And this was the same time period that mainstream science created the term dinosaur to explain all of the huge reptilian fossils they were finding underneath the ground in excavations all around America. Also, don't forget that in the 19th century, their encyclopedias had dragons being an actual animal that were slowly going extinct and were now becoming rare, but did exist way back more in medieval times.
Dragons were not fantasy.
Didn't you find it strange that civilizations the world over all had the same legends and lore, all describing the same creatures, all describing the same giants, despite having no communication with one another? Or strange the Chinese zodiac calendar using all real animals except one? I truly believe dragons were real, but don't take my word for it. Maybe this is one of the reasons why there's such a desperate push to digitize all of our records. Because when we start looking into the paper copies, we find things like this that completely contradict the narrative. This photo accompanied an article published in the LA Times on March 18th, 1882, describing a winged serpent attacking a Southern Pacific passenger train. Or excerpts from this book, The History of Four-Footed Beasts and Serpents, published in 1658. Or how about this dictionary definition from as recent as 1946? You can pause to read it, but the important line there highlighted, now rare. Not mythical, not make-believe, now rare. Or how so many of the lucid community are such fans of trusting the science. How about an 1806 scientific reference book? This is why if you come across old copies of books,
it was about a dragon that came out of the sea. Someone killed it and stuck it on his house to show it off. Chinese calendar has 11 animals and one mythical dragon. Why would they put a mythical dragon with 11 real animals? Alexander the Great spoke of dragons when he conquered India. There's a drawing there. Size of 2 elephants. Pretty big crocodile. Romans in 200 AD spoke of dragons, and they've got statues of dragons all over the place in Rome. Just go have a look. Chinese emperor had a royal dragon feeder. He used dragons to pull his own chariots. Pictures of dragons are on the walls of the Grand Canyon. There's pictures of dinosaurs with people on thousands of Inca stones in Peru with men. Have a look at there. They're fighting with the guys. People with dinosaurs. Guess what? Dinosaur flesh and blood have been recently found. They can literally do Jurassic Park now. In 1 Timothy 6:20, the Bible warns us to avoid profane and vain babblings and science falsely so-called.
Dragons actually exist. Yes, you heard that correctly. Many think that this creature is only a myth. But what if I told you it actually was real? A few months ago, a woman from England named Charlotte Adams wished to discover the truth about dragons after one of her friends told her she had seen a dragon while visiting her grandparents in the small village of Bexhill in Scotland. She decided to go there. Upon arrival, she met her friend's grandparents to talk about the monster that supposedly resided not far from the village. According to them, the beast lived in the mountains near the village. She decided to go to the top of the highest mountain and set up camp there. Days went by without seeing anything. Just as all hope of seeing the creature began to fade, she heard loud footsteps approaching. The closer the steps got, the more intense the sound became until she found herself face to face with the monster. Suddenly, the creature breathed fire onto Charlotte's camp. Subscribe and send to a friend for part.
That dragons used to exist in this region, and you didn't believe me. But when I say I got your ass, oh, I've got your ass. Some scientists recently discovered this giant fossil in China, but they're calling it a dinosaur from the Triassic period, which, you guessed it, 240 million years ago. You see, they always want to talk about dinosaurs, but they don't want to talk about dragons. This region was once plagued by dragons, so much that it became one of the biggest threats to mankind's survival. Imagine fire-breathing dragons just burning up your village. It got so bad that knights had to dedicate their life to tackling this problem. And they say nobody did it better than St. George himself, the Dragon Slayer. This is an illustration of St. George killing the dragon from 1502 to 1507. They were some crazy years, so I believe that dragons still exist, but they can't come around here, brother. They would get shot down in a second. So I believe they're still out there, in different regions, in places that you can't find.
These are real, and they've been trying to tell us this whole time. Y'all motherfuckers gonna love this one. At least that's what some people claim, and we may have even found actual proof in 2024. Even though in 1841 we already technically confirmed their existence, we just called them dinosaurs. As always, just a theory, but anyone with more than half a brain cell knows that. Common history tells us the most recent dinosaurs that roamed the earth went extinct around 65 million years ago. So why do we see them in countless ancient drawings and artifacts just a couple thousand years old? Way after they allegedly went extinct, but also before we started discovering their bones. We didn't even officially know what dinosaurs were until 1824, and they weren't even named dinosaurs until 1841. Before then, we had a different name for them: dragons. Nearly every culture of our past had their own version of a scaly, fire-breathing, flying lizard that brave warriors would face to protect their land. And we see these dino dragons in numerous Neolithic cave drawings around the world, painted into rock walls thousands of years old, well before we ever even knew they were a thing. Petroglyphs in Havasupai Canyon, Arizona, Natural Bridges, Utah, and even up around Lake Superior in Canada. And this is just the tip. I think you know where we're going. Over to Angkor Wat in Cambodia, we see more carvings of what looks like a stegosaurus. Carlisle Cathedral in England has etchings of animals unlike we've ever seen. Down in Australia, the Aborigines had this painting of a creature they hunted, and it don't look like anything I know. The Yuan Diao dragon figure from the Shang dynasty about 2000 BC, which looks almost exactly like a T-Rex. And I mean, ancient China is just filled to the brim with bronze statues thousands of years old that resemble our extinct lizard pals. Here's a Mesopotamian Jasper cylinder seal from the Uruk period about 3500 BC, and if that ain't a long neck, then I don't know what to tell you. Mind you, these are all several hundred, if not thousands of years old, and they're all over the ancient world. Like, are those humans riding dinosaurs in a 16th century painting? And who can forget about the Acambaro figurines, a collection of 30,000 minifigures uncovered in Mexico of dinosaurs and humans riding them. Initial dating analysis estimate them to be about 4,500 years old, but follow-up stated they were made in the 1930s. So they can quickly dismiss them as a hoax, debunked and move on, but evidence kept on coming. The Ica stones, a collection of more than 15,000 engraved stones which depict what's that look like to you? Discovered in Peru, said to be over 1,000 years old, and again later claimed a hoax by the one who found them, some say out of force to avoid imprisonment. Is it possible that humans had contact, or at the very least knowledge of dinosaurs in ancient times? Absolutely not, unless they're not as old as we think they are. In 2003, a researcher, Dr. Mary Schweitzer, found a T-Rex femur that was so big they had to snap it in half for transport, something they usually don't do. They do that, take it back to the lab, and inside the bone they find preserved red blood cells. They couldn't believe it. Red blood cells don't last very long, and soft tissue was thought to deteriorate even under the best of conditions.
Some of these bones could also be bones from giants. They don't want you to know about giants either.
Within 1 million years. Never mind over 68 million years, even inside of a bone. They concluded it must be a new preservation method they were previously unaware of, which could be the case, calm the f down. But since then, they started cracking open more dinosaur bones, finding veins and even soft organic tissue that was stretchy and had an odor, which led some to believe that it could be possible that maybe some dinosaurs were around much more recently than we thought. Before we knew what dinosaurs were,
I wish he would call them dragons.
there was a different type of giant reptile that was found in many oral traditions and stories, dragons. Around the same time period in China, South America, Africa, Rome, Aboriginal Australia, we get legends and images of humans fighting off giant scaly winged creatures that flew and breathed fire. All the way up until medieval times, tales of dragons all around the world. So did everyone just coincidentally come up with the exact same mythical creature, or did they actually see it? And the ancient Chinese especially had a huge obsession with dragons as well. Just have a look at the Chinese zodiac. Have you ever thought, why does it have 11 real animals and then they randomly decided to throw in just one mythical creature, the dragon? Having 12 real animals makes more sense to me. Turns out they might have been onto something, because we may have just found the fossil of one in the heart of China. So the potential reason dragon bones might be so rare is because dragons can fly, just like birds. Birds have extremely light, low density bones that don't fossilize very easily, and it's very likely that dragons would have had the same. Until recently, this was announced. Discovered fossilized remains of a 5-meter long reptile in southern China. Officially called Dinocephalosaurus orientalis, it has been dubbed the Chinese dragon fossil, as unlike any dinosaur fossil we've ever found. Although it's said to be 240 million years old, that's also exactly what they said about the dinosaurs. Did humans coexist with dinosaurs, and were dragons just a rare species of dinosaur that we hunted into extinction for the safety of our future?
Dragons. Most people think of them as myths, legends, or fantasy creatures from medieval tales. But what if I told you the Bible speaks of dragons, not as symbols or metaphors, but as real, living beings, such as the great red dragon in Revelation? Scripture paints a terrifying and fascinating picture of these creatures. Were these just ancient metaphors for chaos, or were they descriptions of something our modern world has forgotten? Something once real, now buried beneath layers of time, censorship, and translation? In this video, we explore the forgotten passages, ancient Hebrew meanings, and jaw-dropping connections that suggest dragons may have once walked the earth, and the Bible may have left us clues hiding in
They
plain
still do.
sight. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might never look at these myths the same way again. Let's go back to the very beginning, all the way to the story of Genesis. We're told that a serpent was responsible for manipulating humanity to bite from the tree of knowledge. But a question that many Christians fail to ask is, what exactly was this serpent? It's speculated that this was a snake. Now fast forward to Revelation 12:9, where John the Revelator writes, "And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world." Notice that. The ancient serpent is called the dragon, not just metaphorically, but as a direct identification. John seems to be telling us that the serpent in Eden, the one who deceived Eve, was the dragon, the cosmic adversary, the embodiment of Satan himself. This dragon isn't just slithering on the ground, it's a celestial being, a force of chaos, possibly winged, radiant, and terrifying.
Christians have been extremely confused about where dinosaurs fit into the Bible. See, the word dinosaur wasn't made up till 1841. So for most of human history, these creatures are called dragons. Did you know dinosaurs not even in the dictionary in 1891? For most of human history, they were known as dragons. Now, dragons are mentioned in the Bible 34 times. Here's one of the oldest pieces of pottery on planet Earth. It's a piece of slate from Egypt, first dynasty of United Egypt. It shows long-necked dragons. Why would they put long-necked dinosaurs on pottery 3,800 years ago? Here's a cylinder seal showing what appears to quite obviously be long-necked dinosaurs. This Roman mosaic shows two long-necked dragons fighting, or kissing. Now that would be necking. Wow. Anyway, how did the Romans know about dragons in 200 AD? St. George is famous for slaying a dragon in 275 AD. We've got 7 coins in our museum on loan. They're silver dollars from 1500s to 1600s. Real silver dollars. All of them show somebody slaying a dragon. It was common 400 years ago. Everybody knew about slaying dragons. Of course you gotta slay the dragon. That's just standard procedure. Indians carved dinosaurs on the walls of the Grand Canyon. Why would they put dinosaurs on the walls of Grand Canyon?
Dragons within our land layout, which would show the land that we've all been living on for all of our lives, has massive dragons embedded into it. Dragons that have been here all along, and we just couldn't see them until we finally opened our minds and were finally able to think for ourselves, finally able to process information without simply dismissing it, because we were never told about it by our teachers. Our Channel 4 just hasn't mentioned it yet. And if they haven't mentioned it, it could never be true. This thought process is done. We are moving on. It's time to realize what's going on and where we all are and what we're all doing here. This proves to me that there are other things that are here in this place that we all live that are definitely going to be revealed to us the further that we go. Because once you can see and have an open mind and have thousands of us and one day millions all working together, we are going to find it all, just like we are today, just like we're about to do right now. Did you think that was the only 2 dragons?
I told you. Dinosaurs were never what mainstream science says they were. You see, the dinosaur bones that have been found, they're actually the remains of dragons, carefully rebranded by secret academic societies to keep the truth hidden. Think about it. Almost every ancient culture has legends of dragon-like creatures. How did all these civilizations just coincidentally end up with the same creature in all of their myths? Simple. Dragons roamed the earth until very recently. These dragons were wiped out by mysterious means, likely by a secret group tasked with erasing their existence and rewriting history. Scientists who study dinosaurs are actually decoding ancient dragon biology and even dragon language, probably in the hopes of biologically recreating them via cloning technology and using them for military defense or energy production.
Dragons. The creatures we're told are only myths, but what if they weren't? Across China, Europe, and the Americas, ancient people carved and painted winged beasts with scales, fire, and teeth. Folklore stretches from Norse sagas to Chinese dynasties, yet every culture described the same kind of monster, long before they ever met. Science says they were finding dinosaur bones, mammoth skulls, and fossilized teeth, and their imaginations turned them into dragons. But here's the problem. Fossils don't explain the fire, or the wings, or why the stories are nearly identical on every continent. Some paleontologists admit we still don't fully understand how dinosaurs looked. We know some had feathers, others armor and hollow bones, traits that overlap with dragon lore. Even pterosaurs could spit chemical sprays, similar to bombardier beetles that explode chemicals as defense today. And the twist. Maybe dragons weren't imagination at all, but living memories of creatures we now call dinosaur, survivors that lasted longer than we think, or a genetic line we've yet to uncover. You watch this long, share if you believe dinosaurs were the real.
Have you heard of the dinosaur theory? Most people ask what made the dinosaurs go extinct, but maybe that's the wrong question. The real question is, did they even go extinct? Now this might sound surprising, but ancient civilizations didn't even call these creatires dinosaurs. They referred to them as dragons. Here's where it gets intriguing. The word dinosaur wasn't invented until 1841. So for most of recorded history, these massive land-roaming creatures were known simply as dragons. And here's something even stranger. If you check dictionaries from the 1800s, you won't even find the term dinosaur listed. But the Bible, it mentions dragons over 30 times, describing them as flers, powerful beasts. Isn't that a bit wild? Just think about it. Don't some of the creatures we see depicted as dragons look oddly similar to certain dinosaurs? Take the pterodactyl, for instance. Doesn't it resemble the classic image of a winged dragon? Makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, dinosaurs and dragons aren't as different as we've been led to believe.
Dinosaurs are what? Dinosaurs, they are not just reptiles with tiny arms. They were dragons. The evidence? It's everywhere, hiding in plain sight. Take the Chinese zodiac. 11 real animals. A pig, a tiger, a rat, even a goat. And then, a dragon. Why would they throw in one so-called mythical creature with all those real ones? Because it wasn't mythical at all. Now think bigger. Every ancient civilization, Europe, Asia, Africa, the Americas, they all have stories of fire-breathing beasts. Cultures separated by oceans, without contact, all describing the same creature. Coincidence? No. It's because they weren't making stories. They were documenting history. And the T-Rex? Oh, we've laughed at those silly little arms, haven't we? But here's the truth. Those arms weren't arms. They were wings. Think of an ostrich skeleton. Tiny arms hiding the evidence of wings. The T-Rex? In its prime, it soared. Terrifying, massive, winged. Still not convinced? Ancient recipes mention dragon blood, bones, even saliva. Not just once, many times. Why would they write about ingredients from a creature that didn't exist? We have a lot to uncover.
Those were the videos I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed the rabbit hole. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think dinosaurs are nothing more than dragons? That's what I think. And I don't think they're gone. I think they're still here. I think they're in places in the world that we're not allowed to know about, that don't exist. I think they're from beyond the ice wall, maybe inside the earth. Every now and again, one comes over this way, maybe gets past the turret guns and missiles, maybe. That's how people spot them in like Scotland or Ireland, or I think Australia spots them a lot. Um, but they lie about everything because the Bible mentions dragons over 42 times. So to admit they're dragons is to admit the Bible is real. And then a lot of the bones they find, these huge bones, I think also belong to giants because giants roam the earth and they still do. But let me know what you think. And we also might be living on the remains of gigantic dragons. There's the Mud Fossil channel where that guy really goes in depth with the mud fossils and says, they're dragons or giants or stuff like that. It's very interesting. Hit the like button, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.